It's time for Speaking of Speaking. Quick tips and tools to take you from stage fright to spotlight. This podcast gives you an inside look from the world of public speaking and speaking secrets you need to be bold from the stage, no matter what business you're in. The host of Speaking, Carl Richards.
Thank you, Matt. Yes, another edition of the Speaking of Speaking podcast. So thrilled to have another great guest to us today, Lourens Badenhorst, who is, let me tell you about him. He shows six-figure income earners and CEOs, founders, and entrepreneurs how to become magnetic and protect themselves from negative influences. So we're going to do a dive into that today. And how does that relate to your speaking? Well, that's what we're going to be expanding on as we introduce Lourens. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much for having me, good sir.
So great to have you here. So let's talk about this personal magnetism piece. This has been something that you've been focusing on as of late, and it's a huge part of what is driving, or in some cases, not driving people in the direction that they want to go in.
Absolutely. We all know how important it is to have the knowability, likability, and the trust factor for any kind of success in business or, in life, even with relationships, for God's sakes. But the thing is that how do you genuinely get people to like you without any sleazy tactics or being crafty or using NLP techniques or anything like that? How do you actually get people to genuinely like you and want to be around you and lean in when you talk and go, ooh, I want to talk to that guy afterwards? That's the effect that we're talking about here.
Let's jump into and look at the characteristics of a non-magnetic individual, because I think if we look at the non-side, probably by the time we get to the magnetic side, it'll also start to gel a little bit. So let's talk about that. Characteristics of a non-magnetic individual. What would that look like?
Well, here's the thing. And that's the beauty of personal magnetism, is we all have experienced it. Everyone listening here has experienced it. When someone walks into the room and you cannot wait until they leave. Okay.
Happens all the time.
On the other hand, we also have experienced someone walk into a room and we go, oh, and it's like there was just something about them. Okay. But on the other hand, a non-magnetic person, there was something really not so funky about them as well. And the funny thing is, and just to prelude before we get into both polarities,
Sure.
Someone who is non-magnetic is just as powerful in their magnetism as someone who is positively charged magnetic, okay? It's the same train, it's just which direction are you going, okay? And so getting into the non-magnetic side of things, the first characteristic is that they are fault finders. These are the types of people that no matter how good a situation is, they'll always find a way to look at it in a negative way. Okay.
It's a beautiful day today. No, it's not. It's hot and sticky, and I'm in a pool of my own sweat.
Exactly. Because they're discontent. They complain frequently. They enjoy telling you their secrets, sharing their troubles with you. Okay. And so basically, they're creatures of impulse. They don't have any reserve or calmness about them, judgment, poise, and generally just lacking attractiveness. And so it's very easy to connect with them based on their obsessive love of themselves, and they're easy to pamper. And it's extremely important that you disconnect from people like that to be able to clear them from your mind so that your own energy isn't affected by people like that. So that's the first one.
When you say they're lacking attractiveness, we're not just talking in the physical sense. We're talking in the magnetic sense, as in the physical might be part of it, but there's also so is that like an energy block? Are they putting up a block of some kind then?
It's just that their energy stinks.
Okay. All right.
Okay. It's the emotional equivalent of not taking a shower for 49 weeks. Let's just be blunt here, shall we? Yeah. You can even have someone who's a 9 out of 10 on whoever scale,
right?
But you can be around them and they can annoy the hell out of you. Okay. And it's not an annoyance. It's more just a general feeling of eh. All right. And it comes down to, here's the thing. Your level of what you give off, the energy you give off, is the result of your predominant mental attitude. So when the guests have gone, when the date is gone, when the girlfriend leaves the room, when the boss is no longer in the office, we take the mask off.
Right.
And this is the thing. Keeping that mask on of pretending to be magnetic, right? The Sunday smile, the Sunday voice, the Sunday outfit, the Sunday demeanor. Hi, say hi to the neighbors, and all that kind of stuff. What is happening is people are pretending to be something that they're not. And that requires a shitload of energy, pardon my French. Right. And the thing is that most people, 90% of people are non-magnetic. So what do? They got to get crafty. They have to start using little, techniques and whatever to get what they want out of people. Because let's be just straight up what the definition of personal magnetism is. It is the art of winning in life. And so how do you win in life? How do you attain? Because a cheetah doesn't wake up in the morning going, I'm too depressed to go hunt. I don't deserve that impala. Okay. That doesn't happen. Humans are a separate situation completely.
Yes. Humans and cheetahs, and never the two shall meet, right?
Exactly. So let's agree on this. The only way for us to survive, to go hunting each day, quote unquote, is to attain, right?
For sure. Yeah.
If we cannot attain, we're starving. So
and that's not good.
That's no fun for anyone. Okay. Yeah. Being there, done that, being the starving broken artist like back in the day, but that's a different can of worms entirely. But the thing is that if we're not successful in attaining, we cannot actually live life as it's supposed to be. Now, I'm drawing the distinction here between ethical attainment and being crafty. Right. Being crafty means you gotta worm your way in to get what you want out of someone. Okay. We all know what this is about. Right. And we can do a completely different podcast on what drives people in their natures and in their appetites to attempt to influence people, but that's a different side of the coin. So the thing is back to what we're saying here is that personal magnetism is literally just the ability to get what it is that you desire in a way that makes you a force of good in this world. Okay.
And certainly when we're looking at it from a speaking perspective.
Yes.
Presentations, coaching, even being a business person who knows that they have to get out there and get in front of more people and network and be the person at the front of the room. These are all, key components to that. So are there any other characteristics of a non-magnetic individual that?
Absolutely. Number 2, they depress because you're glad when they are gone. And so we already touched on this earlier, but if you just knew that you could have saved yourself losing your precious personal supply of magnetism, you just may have been drawn to something from their weakness instead. And so really what it means is we are constantly being influenced by other people's energies. If you don't believe it, just go spend half an hour in a room full of depressed people. Okay. Have fun. All right. But the thing is that it's the effect that they have on you. Just because they're broadcasting depression, you will pick up on it. It's not like I'm criticizing or judging people who are suffering from that. I'm just saying that's a different conversation. What I'm specifically talking about here is the effect that they have on you. They depress you. In other words, they drag you down. Okay.
Right.
So number 3, we all know this one type of people that are like this, because types of people who are they admit failure way too frequently. So in other words, think of this as a philosophy of enhancing one's ability to get other people to say yes to your energy, to your state of mind, to your ideas. And it's like a constant refinement process. This is not like one weekend course where you instantly activate your magnetism. That doesn't happen, buddy. If it was, I'd be a billionaire by now. But what we're talking about here is a constant refinement. You're either sinking or you're swimming. You're either leaking or you're storing, right?
Yeah, for sure. Now that constant refinement, is that a daily? Are there things people should be doing daily then to?
There are techniques, but most of it, strangely enough, is principles. Okay. It's don't go walking on nails because your feet will get hurt. It's a principle.
Okay.
So once we get to the qualities of the magnetic individual, you'll get the answer to what I just talked about. So I'll leave it for there. So basically, admitting frequently that they have failures by their own confession, essentially what they do is they come across as weak, always complaining, always inviting failure, by that attitude of mind. Because when you tell the subconscious, focus on failure, it's going to go, okay, I'm going to create a lot of failures for you because I love you. And that's just how powerful the subconscious is by what we focus our attention on. By focusing on the negative former you just mentioned, what you're doing is you're squandering thought power on shallow and superficial ends, and you waste energy. And because of that, you're doomed to failure because of the law of cause and effect. Okay? It's as simple as that. So the last characteristic of the non-magnetic individual would be that they're life's victim instead of life's champion. Okay. And so practicing victim mode puts you in a place where you're being ignorant of the law of cause and effect. And what you end up doing is you say, oh, things are happening to me. This is happening. Oh, that happened. Oh. What that does is it forever fixes you on the problem instead of the solution, which basically gives credence to the fact that the strong become stronger and the weak just keep getting weaker. And basically, until people like that make an intentional quest to discover the hidden causes behind their calamities, they essentially will be forever a ship lost at sea. So what do you think, my friend, is the reason of their lack of attractiveness?
Yeah, no kidding. Let's shift over then to the characteristics of a magnetic individual then.
Yeah, absolutely. So, this is what I love about this study, because I'm constantly refining myself. I'm not proclaiming myself as the grand master wizard of personal magnetism, okay? Because this is a lifelong study and a lifelong practice. And think of it more as essentially a new set of mental and emotional habits that you incorporate, so that not only do you focus on being able to having a more powerful and attractive mind to others, but having a more attractive emotional aspect of yourself. Some might call it the emotional body, okay, for all intents and purposes, to be in shape, so to speak, okay, to be attractive, okay? And I'm not talking about body types here. I'm just saying what we would consider to be attractive. Okay.
Right.
And then finally, what we would call the spirit is essentially the essence of a person. It's like, what's behind this person? What's really driving this person? Who are they really behind closed doors? And who are they when they take the mask off? Okay. And that's the like factor, by the way, the last one in the KLT. It's the same thing. And that's really what we're talking about here. So number one, the first most important thing is the effect they have on you is that they have a deep sense of rest. Think Richard Branson. Is he fidgety?
Not that I've noticed.
Right. Is Tony Robbins fidgety?
Not that he gives away. Let's put it that way.
Right. So, in other words, they have this really, 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 really deep sense of rest about them. And so, what that means and signifies is that they have a reserve of strength within them, but you cannot exactly place it or localize it. But basically, what the effect that they have is, it's not the way they look at you, it's not their manner, it's not their speech or their actions. But you have this knowing that there's a hell of a lot beneath that surface, okay? And the part of that strength you possessed in recognizing theirs actually went to their attraction to them because of the strength of attraction that they displayed. Now, we're talking like base core physiological effects of like the animal world. Think two grizzly bears staring each other down before a fight. All animals do this. Before they square off, they sum each other up, right? So technically speaking, they're measuring who's the more magnetic, okay, in the animal world. And generally speaking, the more magnetic one can usually scare off the other one. But if, times are tight or mating is rare or whatever, they'll start fighting, right? Normally, they'll just like, okay, I don't want to fight. Okay, cheers, see you later. It's that level of primal, quote unquote, animal magnetism that we would call it. Okay. But in human magnetism or personal magnetism, essentially what that means is we are able to instinctively through the gut. And that's where it works. That's kind of like the highway through which magnetism operates, is through the gut. We just get this feeling, right?
Okay. So that gut feeling is a real thing then.
Absolutely. And that's the thing that makes us go, holy crap, I just bought a program from this person, but I talked to them for 10 minutes, but it's like, let's go, right?
Yeah.
How do you have that effect on people? And sorry, guys, there's no quick 24-hour fix on this one. This is a process. This is a mastery. It's like learning karate. There's no weekend course on how to become a black belt. All right. This is a process of transformation, because that in the back end is what drives this magnetism, is being able to clear up the things and retain and regain the energies that we squander on BS all the time. Super hack to personal magnetism for you right now is, if you just stop wasting your energy, you'd be an extremely magnetic individual. Okay.
I love it.
So number 2, they have a very interesting way of looking at you. Right? So you would notice that people that are magnetic, they have a very interesting way that they look at you. And their eyes hold you, but they're not staring at you. That's the thing. There's something that draws you to their eyes. And this is the interesting thing, is that you sense that they don't want to be impertinent or forceful. And when they speak, they look at you in a very intentional, masterful, self-disciplined, yet, underline, kindly way. Okay?
Right.
And so by being powerful in their manner, what ends up happening is that they give this energy off that they're not self-assertive or argumentative, and that draws you in. Okay?
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So number 3, they're always polite. So they listen to you very politely, yet you get the impression that there's an inflexible, absolutely indestructible will beneath that calm exterior. And you feel and you sense this power in them. Whenever that happens, it's like automatic. Us liking to them just goes through the roof. And because of that, they're the kind of person who is to be obeyed, not because of fear, okay? Very clearly here, not intimidation, not manipulation, but because of a deep respect of their self-discipline, compassion, and detachment from trivial matters.
Wow.
So it's almost like you are somehow inspired by them to attain the same level and the same state of clarity and self-control, right?
Yep.
So the impression they leave on you essentially is that there's no hurry, because they are confident that they will get whatever the heck they want, and they put their mind on attaining. This accounts for their calmness,
okay,
and their security. And this is like the epitome of the saying that knowledge truly is power. They know that they rest their case, again, on the law of cause and effect, because they know that if I do this, I'm going to get this result. And they just do it. So number 4, essentially, it's the old claim that the weak grow weaker and the strong grow stronger. And we all know about this. People that are on the downward spiral of self-destruction or entropy, whatever you want to call it, in business, let's just use that case for now.
Yep.
They tend to attract more crap as they attract crap. Okay. People that attract prosperity tend to attract more prosperity. Correct?
Yes. Yes,
right?
Totally.
Been there, done that, right?
It took me ages to figure that out, but I totally get it. I totally get it.
That's why that saying sink or swim is so incredibly important, because if you're not sinking, you're going to have to do a lot more swimming once you're done sinking. And by the time you're done sinking, you may not have enough oxygen in your freaking lungs to make it back to the surface.
Right.
So that's why you got to stay on top of things. Okay.
Right.
Literally. Okay. Mind the pun. But basically, it is the law of the mind that the positive must and always be acted upon by the negative. And the negative essentially will always feel and admit the power of conscious strength. So, in other words, once you're in a negative downward spiral of any kind, okay, you will always instantly recognize in another person conscious strength. In other words, you will recognize another person who has self-mastery, and you will just instantly look at them as an authority. We do that all the time on webinars, for God's sakes. Okay.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
And so what ends up happening is they almost surrender something, magnetism, to the stronger force. And we do this all the time. If we get inspired by someone, a mentor or a quote or whatever, we actively actually give some of our magnetism to that person.
Right.
And it's just a natural trade-off. It's like, imagine the bears. The one who said, screw this, I don't want to fight you, gave his magnetism to the other bear. The other bear's like, cool, I'm done. Cool. Yeah. See you later. It's the effect of that same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's simple physics, really. The stronger signals always will entrain the weaker signal. And so there's another quote that I'd like to throw in here. And from him who hath not shall be taken even that which he hath. I believe that was in the Bible. And
right.
So
gotcha.
It's right in there, man.
It's right there. Wow. Okay. So how do we go about then becoming magnetic? I mean, obviously Rome's not built in a day. We know that. So what are some things that we can start doing right away that can make a difference?
So think of this as a multi-pronged approach. The umbrella under which personal magnetism operates is that of what are the habits of retaining and conserving one's life force energy so that when you need it, it's there. That's the core of what we're talking about here, okay? Right. Think of a cat hunting a bird. Right before the cat pounces, you would notice its pupils dilate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Magnetism is transmitted through the eye. We all know this. That's why eye contact is so important.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So think about this in nature. It's kind of beautiful. The cat will go and hunt the bird who is the weakest. It's the same as the cats in Africa, the big ones called lions. Yeah. They go after the weakest first, do they not?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So just like in business, this is why you need to learn how to protect yourself from being magnetically influenced by others who are trying to make you their weak prey. That's another topic for another time.
Oh, that's another podcast altogether. We'll come back to that one. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Back to the analogy. When a cat hunts a bird, generally speaking, it would pick the bird that's the weakest, that's the oldest, that wants to die. It says, screw it, I've had my fun, let's go. Cat, I'm ready. Give me a quick and painless death. And what's interesting is in humans, when they get attacked by big cats, a lot of people that get attacked by really big lions and stuff like that say they don't feel the fangs going in. Right?
Wow.
Why?
Okay.
The lion overpowered the person magnetically and influenced its nervous system in a way that dulls the pain. Now, wouldn't you believe that when a cat usually catches a bird, the birds they usually catch are the ones that are old and said, screw it, I've done my mileage, I'm done. Give me a quick and painless death. You get lunch. Let's go. Nature is awesome. All right. So what we're talking about here is essentially understanding that magnetism is that quality in a person that makes them become something that you are stimulated by on a very visceral level. That's what we're talking about, okay?
Right, yeah.
What gets in the way of that? Well, if you have a gigantic tanker of infinite power potential and all you're doing is like standing on the side of it with a shotgun each day during lunchtime, shooting freaking holes on the side of the hull, making all your precious cargo leave. Well, that's not a very successful business operation, is it?
No.
The same goes with our energy. If we're leaking our energy, spending our time mulling about in the past, being overeager, people pleasing, the biggest leak of personal magnetism, by the way, bar none, is people pleasing.
Wow. Okay.
Because what you're saying is, if I give you my energy, would you love me?
Ah, interesting.
Yep. Yeah. Been there, done that. Got the t-shirt, my friend. So the thing is before we go into that final point here to wrap up, is to understand why even bother. In your experience with all that you've done, all the people you've spoken to, I want to ask you a question. What is the thing that makes people become someone you keep in the back of your mind as someone I want to keep in my network, keep in my circle? What is that thing in your experience, in your language? In
my experience, it's the influence or the impact that they've had on me.
Perfect.
In capacity. Yeah.
Perfect. And that sums up the credos of personal magnetism perfectly, is you cannot become a highly magnetic individual by manipulating, taking advantage, anything like that. Sorry, You cannot. You can only do this by becoming a complete master of your own self. And there's a saying out there that it's easier to be king of a kingdom than to be a king of oneself. It's so much easier to be able to rule an entire region than it is to rule oneself.
Right.
And that speaks volumes on the mastery that's involved in becoming someone who's highly magnetic. Is you've done the work. People look up to you because, hey, you've climbed that mountain 50,000 times. Hey, I'll follow you climbing that mountain.
Yeah.
So that's the cosmology I was talking about. Why even bother? Right? Because what is the person? What is the character we want to become? And how the hell do we get there? Well, this is where the next part of the conversation begins, which is mentally preparing yourself to becoming a powerfully magnetic individual. That's the part that's kind of missing in most workshops these days. Right. How do you mentally prepare? Well, number one, you got to get rid of the shit. Why do I say that? And I'm going to swear a few more times here, pardon my French. And we all know what it's like to be around someone who's literally covered in crap. You don't want to be around that person for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
Now, you can have the nicest suit, you can have the nicest car, you can have a fucking $12 million mansion. But if you're literally covered in crap, no one's going to want to sit next to you and do a sales conversation. No one's going to want to sit next to you and go on a date with you. Your kids are not going to sit next to you and talk about their lives, and therefore they're going to not talk to you for 2 years, and therefore, you're going to feel like a crappy parent. Right. The thing is, even your dog is not going to want to be anywhere near you. Okay?
It's true. That's true.
So on the metaphorical sense, what do we do to clear the emotional stuff that we have accumulated over a lifetime that causes us to literally emotionally smell like crap? And that's where the transformation side of things come in, because sure, you can spend, 10, 20, 30 years applying certain principles of magnetism and go about it that way. Or you can take the elevator and get there in a couple of months, so that essentially you can allow yourself to actually finally get what you want out of life, because that's really what this is about. That's really what this is about, my friend. It doesn't matter what area of life, whether it's health, having more vitality and energy, whether it's your relationships, which means people want to be around you, whether it's in business, people find you interesting and intriguing and therefore maybe want to explore you further by default. I'll end it on this. When people buy from you, how much does your energy impact that decision?
Immensely. It's all of it.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you could enter the room with a sale 80% made just because of the work you've done on yourself, hell, man, that conversation becomes so casual because you're so deep at rest, because you're getting exactly what you want. However, because you're working with the law of cause and effect, you better have something valuable to offer that person and really serve them from the bottom of your heart.
Yeah.
And do the absolute best you can. But freaking goodness sakes, you get paid.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness.
And on that note, my friend,
we have unbundled so much today, and I hate to cut it here, but oh my goodness, Lourens Badenhorst, this has been amazing. I can't let you leave though without asking, because I know that people are probably wondering, what's the next step? How can I start to step into that place where my personal magnetism is really starting to have a positive effect on me? So what would you like to pass along to people today?
Okay, well, here's what I'm offering straight up. If you're someone who just genuinely wants to learn how to enjoy life by getting what you want in an ethical way that leaves this world a better place at the end of the day, hey, that rhymed, get in touch. I offer a complimentary 30-minute conversation where I will serve you from the bottom of my heart, no obligation to buy. I'm not going to sell you anything. If you want to work with me, yeah, sure, we can talk about that. But my purpose here is to serve. And one of the major tenes of someone who is really magnetic is that they're out there making this world a better place. And for that reason, I'm offering a completely complimentary conversation for 30 minutes on how you can become more magnetic and what you can do, as well as the first 10 people that book, I will give them a copy of my home study course, which is essentially my mental and emotional bandwidth boot camp, which teaches you how to essentially clear up more mental space in your mind, get your emotions under control, as well as be able to control your state. And I'll give that away. It's worth $200. It's the first 10 people that sign up. I'll give that away completely complimentary. So yeah, that's it for me, man.
Certainly. Thank you very much. And we'll make sure all of that information is in the show notes. So you'll be able to tap into what Lourens has offered to take. Definitely take him up on his offer, if nothing else, for his 30-minute call, so you can find out if there's something there and do you really need to tap into him further. Lourens, before I let you go, final thought.
My motto is simple in life. It's very simple. It is lighten the fuck up and get shit done.
GSD. I love it. The old GSD. Lourens Badenhorst has been my guest today. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
You're very welcome, my friend. I love having been here. Thank you so much. And I appreciate it very much.
And remember, get out there and own the platform.
Thanks for listening to the Speaking of Speaking podcast. Fired up about something you heard today? Want to learn more? Be sure to visit carlspeaks.ca. And don't forget to follow Carl on Twitter @CarlRichard72 or join the Facebook group Speaking of Speaking.